Hello, everyone. It's Monday. Welcome to another week of news here on the JPNN. We bought a teleprompter. It's currently not set up. It'll be here Wednesday, or probably no, it'll be here tomorrow. We might use it Wednesday, but it'll factor into the news. You'll start seeing me stare at the camera a lot more often, and things being a lot more scripted. So very exciting stuff. But that's not why you're here. You're here for the news. Let's get started. Big news day here on Monday. We got a bunch of stuff to go over. Well, we got some things to go over, but the bits of pieces are big. First off, we've got. Sorry, there's a lot going on. We got tons of stuff happening around me. First off, on Friday, later in the evening, some news dropped. There were four sources with knowledge of the proposal that Electronic Arts was set to merge with NBC Universal, but the deal fell apart, quote, within the last month due to disagreements over price and structure. The negotiations lasted several weeks, and the deal would have seen NBC Universal take majority control of the merged company, which would have been headed by Wilson, who is the Electronic Arts owner, I believe. EA also entered into the talks with Amazon, Apple, and Disney in recent years, according to some sources. No dates were specified except for Disney, with discussions allegedly being held as recently as March. Everyone's trying to sell, trying to get people to buy. When asked for a comment, EA spokesperson John Reisberg told Puck News that the firm doesn't comment, quote, on rumors and speculation relating to M&A. What does M&A stand for? We didn't specify what that means. M&A is probably like something an acquisition, maybe, if I had to guess. Mergers and acquisitions. There you go. We were in the weeds with the jargon. I'm glad we figured that out together. Amazon, Apple, and Disney also declined to comment. Sources also said that EA has been, quote, persistent in pursuing a sale in recent years, and especially since Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. I bet you we see. I mean, Disney would make sense, right? I mean, they handle a decent chunk of those games. They've been in business together for many years. That would make sense. I just don't know if I want Disney owning anything else in the world. Although, it doesn't matter. They're going to own everything eventually. That's the game. That's how all this goes. The Take-Two Interactive and Zynga acquisition is done. The shareholder approval occurred last week, and the deal has Take-Two purchasing all outstanding shares of Zynga for approximately $12.7 billion. They came out and said, "We are thrilled to complete our combination with Zynga," said Take-Two Chairman CEO Strauss Zelnick, that's the evil CEO, who called the deal, quote, a pivotal step in the firm's plans to build out its mobile offering. It goes on to say, as we bring together our exceptional talent, exciting pipeline of video games, and industry-leading technologies and capabilities, we believe that we can take our portfolio to another level of creativity, innovation, and quality. The Zynga CEO, Frank Gibeau, said, quote, we are eager to continue building an unparalleled portfolio of games that will reach broader markets and lead to continued growth for this next chapter of Zynga's history. You're going to see a lot of GTA games on mobile, even more so than already, is what all that means. Capcom is out here in the news. They are suggesting during a new investor relations Q&A that it could be reviving some of its dormant game series. When asked specifically what plans the company has for its dormant IP, Capcom responded, quote, we are currently putting together plans for our pipeline based on demand data from the market. Going forward, we will continue to take consumers' wishes into consideration while devising our total lineup. Look, just give me that Dragon's Dogma 2. Just do that. Just give me the Dragon's Dogma 2. I want it. I want it. We all want it. Dino Crisis and all that stuff, that's mid. Give me the Dragon's Dogma. That's what we want. That's what we want. U.S. Labor Board prosecutors have determined that Activision Blizzard illegally threatened staff and enforced a social media policy that conflicts with workers' rights, according to a government spokesperson. Unless the company settles, the National Labor Relations Board's Los Angeles-based regional director will issue a complaint. The agency's press secretary, Kayla Blado, said today. Activision did not immediately respond for a request for comment. The Labor Board is slated to count ballots today for an election held among the 21 employees at the company's Raven studio in Wisconsin, which could establish a rare labor foothold in the video game industry. And I think it did happen, actually, that, the script needs to be edited a little bit there. That occurred. It worked. Today, testers at Activision's Raven Software became the first major union in the video game industry as the result of their union has been announced. There was 19 votes for and 3 votes against. It's a big deal. Jason Schreier is following that developing story if you want to follow along live. But yeah, congrats to the Raven Software team over there at Activision. Probably the first of many. I think you're going to see a lot of unions start to pop up, and big deal. A lot of history. Big deal there. Congratulations once again to them. And as always, like I said, follow Jason Schreier, as I'm sure there's going to be a lot of news coming out over the next 24 hours. We'll try to cover it all on Wednesday for any developing stories for that. Moving along to more gaming-focused news, at least as games are discussed. Jeff Keighley has come out and said to expect less third-party digital showcases this summer, as companies are instead opting to include content in events like his Summer Game Fest show. Speaking yesterday during a Twitter Spaces audio session, Keighley said consumers should expect less third-party conferences this year, as those publishers with less content instead are going to opt in the Game Fest and first-party conferences such as the Xbox and Bethesda Showcase. We just said the same thing 2 different ways. Some other quotes were, there were a lot of shows last year where everyone was disappointed that they weren't really press conferences, right? Like Take-Two, Capcom, Square Enix, and things like that. I think that they have learned if you're going to do a press conference, you kind of need to have 30 minutes plus of stuff. And sometimes they only have 1 or 2 great games to show, which may not be enough to do a full event around. So I think that's going to be a bit of a shift. I have a pretty good sense of what's coming in the next month, and I think people will be hyped about games in general. He's in the business of saying things like that, but that's also good to hear. There's also still a lack of games coming out right now. This is kind of like a COVID gap year, I think, Keighley said. With a lot of games being developed because they were started during the pandemic. We're still hoping for a lot of things to come out. I agree. So he's out there. He's starting to set expectations for this event coming up in June, which I think is good. I think it's smart for him to start doing that. And I'm still excited to see whatever comes out of the Summer Game Fest, the Xbox event, and the PC Gaming Show. We'll most likely be doing a little bit extra JPNNs that week to cover everything, as well as some live drop frames coverage as well, to get you guys up to snuff with all the news. Speaking of getting you guys up to snuff, AT&T customers can currently play Control for free on mobile devices as long as you're an AT&T customer via the cloud. You have to have basically a AT&T mobile plan for that. It is powered by Immersive Stream for Games, which is a version of Stadia that Google is licensing to third parties. Interesting. Okay. If anyone in the comments or anyone that's watching played that or checked it out, let me know how that worked. I'm actually curious to see how that handles on a mobile device. I guess it is just Stadia, so we kind of know how it's going to handle, but still curious. Redout 2 I have no idea what game that is, but apparently it's been delayed to June 16th. They came out and said, quote, "Hello, Redout fans. We know you've been eagerly awaiting the release of Redout 2 later this month, but unfortunately, the fastest racer in the universe just needs a little bit more development time before it's ready to go and will now launch on June 16th. I guess that's a racing game. Is that like Wipeout looking game, perhaps? I think maybe we've seen a trailer for that. This past week, the Steam top sellers, V Rising, took that #1 slot. The Steam Deck sitting at #2, or is it? You never really know. Arma Reforger at #3. That's the Arma 4 tech demo that came out. Elden Ring still sitting near the top at #4, and V Rising with their Founders Pack at #5. Congrats on V Rising on all their success. Moving along, former Microsoft exec Ed Fries has expressed concern over the potential impact the company's Game Pass subscription could have on the game industry. During an interview, Fries was asked what he would do if he were still part of Microsoft's gaming team today. He gave a bunch of quotes. He said, quote, "The one thing that they're doing that makes me nervous is Game Pass. Game Pass scares me because there's a somewhat obscure thing called Spotify that was created for the music." Oh, not obscure. There's a somewhat parallel is what he's trying to say. I'm trying to not say another word because I don't want to mispronounce it is what's happening here. Called Spotify that was created for the music business. When Spotify took off, it destroyed the music business. It literally cut the annual revenue of the music business in half. It's made so people just don't buy songs anymore. That makes sense. People don't buy songs on iPhone, for example, because why would you? They're all on your subscription service app. Apple said they're going to take away buying songs because no one's buying them anymore. Huh. I didn't actually think of that, but I guess he's kind of right. So we have to be careful that we don't create the same system in the game business. These markets are more fragile than people realize. I saw the game industry destroy itself in the early 80s. I saw the educational software business destroy itself in the mid 90s. They literally destroyed a multi-billion-dollar market in a few years. So Game Pass makes me nervous. As a customer, I love it. I love Spotify as a customer. I have all the songs I'd ever want. It's a great deal as a customer, but isn't necessarily great for the industry. Not necessarily not a point you would ever see a consumer make of let's worry about those multi-billion-dollar businesses within the industry. It is interesting though, because he is correct about Spotify, and I just never had I never thought of it that way. Game Pass could actually do a little bit of harm at the end of the day for the industry at large. For consumers, it's still the best thing since sliced bread. A little bit of a, I wouldn't say anti-consumer take, because at the end of the day, if the industry is, shrinking, then the consumers don't necessarily win, because then there's less games to play and blah, 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 blah. The industry, it's kind of a chicken and the egg scenario. Industry has to be wealthy, or sorry, the industry has to be healthy for the consumers to have stuff to play. Yeah. Ouroboros is occurring here a little bit. Kind of a cool take. Never thought of that. Be interesting to hear Rami's thoughts on that. Moving along, Deadline is reporting that Scream's Nev Campbell will be playing, or the person who plays Sidney Prescott in the Scream movie franchise, will play Raven in a PlayStation Productions show. Raven, who was first in Twisted Metal Black, which was the 5th game of the series, is a gothic character who hates conforming and drives a hearse named Shadow. He's going to be playing that old Twisted Metal. I think Falcon is also attached to that show. Curious what that show actually looks like. I'm sure a trailer will come out over the next year or so. According to Forbes, the Uncharted movie has just crossed over $400 million worldwide. Among the other video game films, this puts Uncharted behind Warcraft at $438 million, Detective Pikachu at $433 million, and Rampage at $428 million. Rampage made $428 million? Get that shit out of here! What the hell is that? That's wild. I had no idea. I guess The Rock really is a moneymaker. That's insane. Kotaku, and a little bit of a fun story here, I guess, released an article called After Years of Hype, going back to Xbox Game Pass. The article is called After Years of Hype, the Xbox Game Pass Burnout is here, and put out a tweet to promote the article. Xbox Game Pass replied and said, "Tell me you limit yourself to AAA games without telling me you limit yourself to AAA games." Kind of a big burn. At the end of the day, though, Kotaku won here. They gained a lot more eyes on an otherwise boring tweet that wouldn't have really had that many people, interacting with it. That Xbox tweet, though, has a massive amount. I think it's like 1,000 to 12,000 in terms of the ratio number, but kind of a dumb article. I think that article started from like another Twitter thread where two people were saying that Xbox Game Pass Burnout is here. Seems a little silly. In the rumor mill, there's a new report suggesting Ubisoft is waiting until its share price improves. Deal Reporter is saying that shareholders and people familiar with takeover discussions say the price would need to be at least 60 euros to 70 euros per share before a deal would be accepted. A price of 100 euros per share has been suggested as a better value for the publisher due to its long-term prospects. There are also a lot of reports that the Guillemot family may be buying the company itself, with the CEO Yves Guillemot telling investors during the most recent earnings call that Ubisoft has, quote, "everything we need to remain independent." In a weird way, I kind of hope that Ubisoft remains independent, because eventually, like, what company is not going to be trying to be bought? But it's not like Ubisoft is putting out any games that I'm like super hyped about right now. So a little bit of whatever. According to Nick Shishpalnik Baker, on the latest Xbox Era podcast, I apologize for butchering your username. He said their source has suggested that the upcoming open world fantasy RPG Forspoken could see another delay. However, that delay will only happen if the devs can finish up Final Fantasy 16 first, so that it takes Forspoken's place. That makes a lot of sense. However, my editor is saying take this rumor with a lot of salt, as no other well-known insiders have relayed this news as well. I can see what they're trying to do there, though. They want something big this holiday. They want a big game. Forspoken or Final Fantasy 16 will probably be that big game for Square. It just depends on whatever's ready and whatever gets out by then. So we'll see. It is Monday, so that means we're going to be taking a look at the game releases this week. There's nothing at all. That's why the music is silent. There's no video games out. Now there's like one or two. Games. Hardspace Shipbreaker, PC game, comes out tomorrow. Ni no Kuni Crossworlds, it's a mobile game, comes out on the 25th. Sniper Elite 5 launches on the 26th. Redout 2, which was supposed to come out this week, that got delayed. Pac-Man Museum Plus on the 27th, and Ko the Kangaroo on the 27th as well. That's it for game releases. That's it for the news here on this Monday episode of JPNN. We'll see you Wednesday, perhaps with a teleprompter, where there's going to be less of this and more of this. Or I might wait till Friday to try to get that put into the mix. We'll see. Thanks for watching, though. Leave a comment. Oh, one other quick update for the show. We will be most likely, we're like 80, 90% sure, doing like short form news. So if you don't have, however long this was, 19 minutes to watch a full thing, you can watch a YouTube short for a minute, or you can watch a TikTok short for a minute, or just, a Twitter short for a minute. We'll most likely get some accounts set up and let you guys know where you can check all that stuff out. Over the next month or so is when we're planning to launch all that. Anyways, thank you for watching. We're out. We'll see you next time. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.